We're starting just a little bit late, so let's go ahead, if you don't mind, we'll get going because we have a really good program tonight. First of all, I want to welcome everybody. My name is Sandy Golding and I'm president of Beaches Watch. And for those of you who may not be familiar with our organization, we have been in existence since 2004. And we are a nonprofit civic organization, and we're nonpartisan. And our focus is on informing and engaging citizens at the beach in the issues that are coming before our elected officials. So that's why we have our guests tonight. I hope you picked up an agenda when you came in. We have them at the tables. Also, there are 2 sign-in sheets. We have to have everybody sign in for the city of Jacksonville, and then also there's a sign-in sheet for Beaches Watch. So if you could sign into both of those, that would be great. On the agenda, I want to point out a few things. We have on the back side, we have contact information for the local elected officials. So if you ever need to get in touch with someone, you know how to. And I'd like to point out the local elected officials we have with us tonight, besides our guest speakers. We have Jack's Beach Mayor Charlie Latham. Where are you, Charlie? Sorry, right here. We also have Atlantic Beach Mayor Mitch Reeves. We have Jacksonville Beach Councilwoman Janelle Wilson. She's Vice Mayor. We have Vice Mayor for Neptune Beach, Scott Wiley. Where are you, Scott? We have Neptune Beach Councilman Rory Diamond. We also have Jackie Smith. She's the district director for John Rutherford, Congressman John Rutherford. Anybody out?
Rory.
I mentioned Rory. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. And we have Chief Kite from Neptune Beach here. Fred Jones, he was just appointed to the Raise your hand so everybody knows who you are. All right, so he's the man to go to if you have any questions, okay? A few other things I want to mention real quick before we get started. Memberships. Our memberships in Beaches Watch help to support what we are doing here at the beaches. It's $15 for an individual membership and $20 for a family, and $5 for a student. We would appreciate your support because it helps us continue to do what we're doing. Andy, who's at the table here, can take your membership if you'd like to join us. Also want to let everybody know that we do record these meetings, and so you will be, there's information on the agenda where on our YouTube channel, and you can also see them on our website. Also, want to let everybody know Atlantic Beach is having elections this year. So qualifying ends June 23rd. We have on the agenda the people who have filed to run so far. If you are interested in getting involved, that's a great way to get involved if you want to run for Atlantic Beach City Commission. Also, beach renourishment update. We have a little bit of information on here about what's going on with that, so I won't go over that since it's on the agenda. Also, just want to let everybody know that new this year, Beaches Watch is doing a Fletcher Senior High School scholarship to one deserving senior, and this is new for us, and so we're really excited about it. We will be announcing that recipient and giving that scholarship at their award ceremony at Fletcher High School on the 25th of this month. So we're really excited about that, and it's because of your membership and your support that we're able to do that, and we're able to give back to the community. So thank you for your support. Okay, one other thing, our June meeting is going to be Wednesday, June 7th. All of our meetings are the first Wednesday of each month here at the library. And our speaker for that meeting is going to be George Forbes, who is the Jacks Beach City Manager. And he's going to be talking to us about the 2017 legislative session. And I hear it was a doozy. So, or actually it's not done yet. Yeah. Yeah, so you'll want to come to that because the things that happen in Tallahassee have a really, really big impact on us. So George is going to be going over what happened and what didn't happen, I believe. Is that correct, George?
That's correct. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, now, what I'd like to do, let's go ahead and get started with our program for tonight because this is going to be a really good program. Our speakers tonight are Bill Gulliford, who is our Jacksonville City Council representative for the beaches. We also have Jacksonville City Council Vice President John Crescimbeni, and he's also at-large representative, so he represents us as well. Who's also at large city council for Jacksonville. And then we had some of the at-large members who could not attend tonight. Councilman Missouri invited Haley, his assistant, to be here in case anybody has any questions. So she's right here if you want to stand up and let everybody know who you are. So Councilman, yes.
Okay, let's start.
We're gonna dive right in.
We're gonna dive right in.
And Bill is good at diving in. Here you go.
Thank you, Sandy, and good evening. I'm going to set the format for this, and I want it to be participatory. But before I do, I want to introduce my council assistant, who, if you really want to get anything done, don't call me, call her, Carol Harper. Stand up, Carol. What I'm going to do tonight is, we've done this before, I think it's a pretty good exercise. What I want from you all, instead of listening to us stand up here and pontificate, I want you to give me 6 or 7 topics that we're going to write down, and then we will discuss each one of those topics, and then hopefully we'll have enough time after that just for general questions and answers. And I'm going to see how close you all are to what I think you're going to ask me about, or ask me to list a topic. So who wants to give me a topic? Yes, ma'am.
The pier.
I knew that was going to be there. I knew that was there. Yeah. Okay.
The budget.
Budget. Okay. We'll let Crescimbeni take that one. Rory?
The pension deal.
Pension deal. Yeah, we'll let Anderson take that one. Yes, ma'am. Mayport boat ramp. That's a good one. Okay. All right, Ford. Now remember, I get to come on June and be out there where you are, so be careful.
There's one in Mayport and the one in Jacksonville Beach, the lack of parking, need more parking.
So we're talking about the Mayport boat landing and the Jacks Beach.
Yeah.
And Jacks Beach.
I didn't know George could ask.
Well,
You don't know George very well.
I'll put that down, BJ, animal control. I know you do, it's your background. I remember you when I was the mayor, honey. You remember I knew, yes, sir.
You would move in the community center at Mayport's program.
Okay. I'll take that one. Anything else? Yes, sir.
While we're on Mayport, the Jacksonville land.
Oh, yes, yeah, I'll take that one too. And one more and then we're gonna.
Quality of life versus growth.
That's, you know what?
I know it's.
No, it's too generic. I want something related to the beaches, and if we have time, you can ask a question about that. Jackie, no, you're the mayor. I'm going to say.
Dredging of the river?
Dredging?
No.
No, that's really in Jacksport's hands right now. It hasn't gotten to us. All right, we've got enough to start, okay? And before I start, I'm going to give each one of my colleagues an opportunity to just make introductory comments. So I'll start with Greg.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's really fun to be back with you all. It's also really fun to be invited to one of Bill's parties. And the beach is very special to all of us, and John and me and Bill. And the beach has been a busy place over the last few years. We've seen several initiatives that the council has supported. Very visible initiatives, some that are pretty loud right now out on the beach. And so I want to first tell you that I'm in my 6th year. We're in our 6th year.
Yes,
Bill
we
and
are.
I. John's been there a couple more years. But it's been an honor serving you all. The second thing, and really important, is to introduce you to my legislative assistant, Ms. Leanne Creed. So Leanne will stand up. Leanne is fabulous. She keeps me straight, and she keeps things moving forward. So I think I'll just sort of say that looking back on, we were first elected in 2011 to where we are right now, our community is in a very, very different place. You might remember in 2011, unemployment was very high. Now we're seeing, as you talk about growth, we're seeing unemployment come way down. So the whole dynamics of city government has shifted. And so you're starting to see, I think for the first time, some pretty significant investments. And I think with that, I'll just stop because I know that John will want to say a few things. Everybody, this is John Crescimbeni.
Thank you, Greg. Believe it or not, I hired an ECA after 8+ years. I hired an ECA in January, but I didn't invite her to come tonight. I'm not sure invite is the correct word. I didn't compel her or invite her to come tonight, but her name is Nikki Evans. She started with me in early January and has really helped me kind of dig out of an upside-down hole, being behind in a lot of things. But I don't see anybody here with a I rode the ferry sticker on tonight, so I'm very disappointed in that. So everybody on the way home, get out of here early, you have to go ride the ferry. I'm not sure I like the list. I brought 3 things to talk about, and none of those made the list. When Gulliford's not looking, I may write a few more things on the bottom. But no, it's great to be here tonight. Love the beaches. I grew up in Old Arlington, but closer to the beach now than ever. I live just across the Intercoastal Railway in East Arlington, and make a lot of trips down Wonderwood to all the hangouts and beaches area for food. Not so much pleasure. With that, I'll give it back to our district councilman out here, and thank you all for having us.
And you're moderator for the evening.
Time's up.
And before I go any farther, I want to recognize Matt Carlucci, who is a past Jacksonville City Council president, who's here tonight. So Matt, wave your hand. Okay, let's talk about the pier. Latest update. Reynolds Smith & Hill was selected as the engineer to totally assess the pier. They will start with that process. Under this charge, we want you to allow us to build back as much of the pier as structurally allowed. You may remember that we had budgeted $700 and some thousand to redeck the pier. In a strikingly unusual circumstance, unlike one that usually happens with the city of Jacksonville, we didn't put that new planking down and have it washed away from Hurricane Matthew. Sometimes delays are good, you know. Sometimes procrastination is a good thing. So we still have all of that material. We're ready to go. Is it going to be open this summer? Very, very doubtful. But, you know, possibly in the fall. That is their charge. Do we think we can make it all the way to the end of it? I don't know. But it will be done according to the structural safety of the pier, and that's their job to assess that. And everybody wants to get it back. But we got folks, we got to get it back right, you know that. Budget. Oh, let me say something here. When I was council president, Greg was the finance chair, and he did a great job. And I also served under this guy when he was a finance chair. He did a great job, but he never let any of us talk. That's why he did a great job. So, you want to take the budget? Go ahead.
I mean, sure, the budget this year, the upcoming budget for the city is, as you know, I think pension is on the list, but pension reform has provided a little bit of relief for next year's budget, or the math says it's going to provide some relief for next year's budget. But we have a bill that's coming out of Tallahassee that's going to adversely impact the city of Jacksonville and probably the beaches communities as well. So it's going to allow for an additional homestead exemption. It won't have any impact on our upcoming budget, but it'll be on the ballot in 2018 for voters, and it creates an additional $25,000 homestead exemption for properties that have at least $100,000 value and assessed value to $125,000 assessed value. So homeowners with homestead can, if that gets approved by the electorate, would be able to take advantage of 3 different homesteads, $25,000 homesteads for a total exemption of $75,000. The impact on Jacksonville's budget, based on today's assessments, is about $27 million, I think. So we take a step forward with pension reform passage, and then we may take a step backwards if the voters approve that in 2018. Along with pension reform, we closed, with regard to our upcoming budget, I don't want to get too far into pension reform, but we're closing all of our defined benefit plans for all our collective bargaining employees, and all the new hires after October 1st will go into, as you probably read, defined contribution plans, much like a 401k. The combination of that and an increased contribution from existing employees will help our budget, but the savings we're going to plow back into pay raises, which was the cost of getting the pension plans closed. We have to negotiate all those contracts with all the different unions, and it wasn't as simple as we could just close the plans as a council. We had to negotiate that through collective bargaining, and the price was pay raises for all our employees. The percentages vary depending on the union that was collectively bargained, but police and fire, our public safety officers are going to get about a 22% pay raise over the next 3 years. That's going to chew into that savings during those first 3 years, but hopefully after that we'll see some a delta that we can start applying to other things. If there's specific questions about the budget, we can take those later, but that's just a general overview of where I see things going. My colleagues may have their views.
Thank you, John. I just really quickly build on that. The budget process is beginning at City Hall now, so it will build to sort of a mid-July presentation by the mayor. A couple of points that I think are pretty interesting. I think John's right. I think pension reform does give us a little bit of running room. There's some risk associated with that. I think we talked about that. Certainly the papers covered that portion of it. I think you'll hear from the mayor his priorities will continue to be public safety, but you'll also hear an investment in infrastructure. And so there's a real sense, I think, that we've got a lot of deferred maintenance. And so I think you'll start to see the mayor really get forward on some of those items. The council's been pushing along for sidewalks and road improvements and pothole improvements for years, but it's been a slow climb really out of the way. It's been a pretty substantial deferred maintenance program. I don't see us backing off on any of the quality of life initiatives that are, I think, important for all of us. My sense is that this mayor will continue to invest in that. The early indications are that, ad valorem is the driver for us in terms of our revenues. The city of Jacksonville, early indications are about a 4% increase. The beach, which always outpaces us, is around 8% increase. So if that holds true, we should have a little running room in the budget. And again, if you have any specific questions, I'm happy to address those.
I just want to follow up on your question. I want you to understand that the city of Jacksonville is still dealing with a lot of hurricane damage. We have docks at some of our boat ramps in the city. We have a lot of damage that hasn't been touched yet. So I want to think that appears like the last thing on the list. It's not. In fact, it's probably ahead of some other projects. But I'm working with a number of groups that have damaged assets in city parks or boat ramps or what have you. And it's going to be a while before all that's put back together. So I'm just asking everyone to be patient.
I'll make a general observation about, wait a minute, before I go, let me recognize the mayor of Neptune Beach, came in fashionably late, Mayor.
I was in another meeting.
That's always that's the key answer we always get. Or the other side is, I gotta go to another meeting. That's the other one we use. Let me tell you something seriously about these two gentlemen as well as several others on the council. We have become much more professional in the handling of our budget and how we budget and what we budget for over the last, I think, 5 or 6 years. I call them the weed people. And that's because they really get into the minutia. But more than that, they have been strategic in their thinking as far as the future. I think John just mentioned about capital maintenance. That was a big issue when we took office. It was being ignored. We've made strides, and I think we'll have a positive impact in the future as to how we address things like that. They're out of sight of the general public. You don't really know those things. Typically, you don't see what we're doing with that. And I think that's critically important. I know the people in the audience that have been in local government know exactly what I'm talking about, and that's pretty important. Pension. I'll start with pension and then give it, pension reform, give it to these gentlemen. Several observations. Number one, when I was council president, I called a meeting and asked, it was voluntary participation, asked council members that were interested to come, let's discuss options and alternatives, because we were in a heck of a mess. And we talked about things like there's a provision where we could impose a fire sales tax 0.5%. What we would have to do would be we'd have to raise your millage rate 1 year. Well, first of all, you would have to pass it on a referendum. And then if you passed it, we'd have to raise your millage rate 1 year and then roll it back the next to make this thing work, because it could only be used for fire-related expenses. And it just really, the more we looked at it, it wasn't going to work. There were other proposals. Mayor Brown came up with that wacky JDA proposal, which was unrealistic. And when we kept going through, there was really very little that we came up with as an option. From that point on, we passed reform legislation in 2015, which brought some relief. And more importantly, it ended that 30-year agreement, which was a real horrible position that we were placed in because of the existence of that agreement. So there were good things done in 2015. Along comes this deal, and because I pushed that 2015, I was the sponsor and introduced that 2015 pension reform. There were some things that we were able to get in 2015 that we were going to have to give up. And I guess if anybody would be upset about that, I would be the one that would be most upset. But for the overall good and looking at what we passed, I felt like that was the right thing to do. And the other thing is that typically you pick up most of your news about things like this pension reform from the media. And I can tell you there was a lot more going on and involved in what we did with pension reform. I took great exception sometimes when I get these emails about the overly rich plan for the police officers. So I got council research to give us some comparative numbers to other jurisdictions around the state. How do we fare? Well, I can tell you, with the increases John talked about, that will bring our police officers just level with Gainesville. Still under Tampa, well under Tampa. So you have to remember the two things. These folks are going to give up 10%. They're going to make a 10% contribution to the new plan. And they didn't have raises, and in fact, taken a 2% cut over the last 10 years. So they were really behind, and we were losing police officers as a consequence to it. You know, when I was mayor of Atlantic Beach, our big problem was we were losing police officers to Jacksonville. That hadn't been going on much lately because they just were not competitive with their pay. So I'm going to turn that over to John and let him continue.
In the Florida statutes, there's a handful of what I call local option sales tax provisions that have to be approved by electorate. All of them except one have to be, the proceeds from which have to be spent on capital improvements. We have two that we've already implemented here in the city of Jacksonville. The Better Jacksonville Plan in 2000 and the half cent for tolls that I think was approved in 1987. Except there's one in the statutes that Mr. Gulliford talked about, this fire service tax, which is so convoluted. I barely understood it. I don't know how we would ever explain it to the voters. It's so popular, in fact, that none of the 67 counties have implemented it. It's been on the books for several years, and nobody's rolled it out because it's too darn confusing. So when Bill had meetings a few years ago, it became very clear to me that the sales tax was the way we should go. But there wasn't anything available to us. So when this concept was hatched about trying to get the legislature to create something unique to Jacksonville, I was very interested in where that path was going to take us. And Mayor Curry was very successful. He had the relationships in Tallahassee to make that happen. But this newest addition to the Florida statutes, if you look at all the options for local option sales tax in the statutes, the last one, the one we used, is tailor written for Duval County. Nobody else would qualify that. So we've got something that's very unique. Now, would I have liked that sales tax to have started January 1st of 2018? Absolutely. But that's not what the legislature gave us. The legislature's very anti-tax. I think we're very lucky to have what we have. At least it's something. And I probably voted against 3 or 4 pension reform packages. Mayor Payton submitted something to us that I think crossed over into the new 2011 council that we withdrew. Brown brought 1 or 2 in front of us. I didn't vote for either one of those. I didn't vote for Gulliford. I didn't think it went far enough. But I thought this one was a ray of hope. And again, I prefaced my vote by saying, as long as the math is right, I think we're in good shape. It was costly to negotiate with the unions. And I guess I've had a lot of people call me and say, 25% city contribution for public safety officers into a 401k. Anybody here think that's high? Yeah. Well, I remind those people that call me or email me with that comment that our current contribution rate for public safety employees is 119%. So when you look at it in perspective, 25% saves us almost 89%. So I mean that's a pretty good deal.
Well, first of all, Bill really did bring to the table what I thought was a remarkable package in 2015, and I did vote for it, Bill.
I know who my friends are, Greg. And we got it passed, even though Crescimbeni voted.
So I'll be quick on this, but first of all, kudos to Mayor Curry for pulling this together. If you had said a couple years ago that he could get our legislature to approve the extension of the sales tax, I would have said no way. And then if you had asked me, would our citizens approve by a 65% margin the extension of the sales tax, I would have said no way. So I want you to know that Mayor Curry and his team really put together an incredible program. Now, is it perfect? It is not perfect. It relies on a future income stream that does not begin until 2030 and ends in 2060. It's a little bit like shooting at the moon. Okay? If you're off just a little bit, well, you just keep going. So your numbers have to be precise. So for those of you, and there's several people who are here, who are considering running for city council, let me say one thing to you. Stick with the payment, even when it hurts. Even when it hurts. 2, make sure the numbers are right. And you're going to have to test it every year. We put in place a safety net so that each year, all these assumptions will come back to the council, and the council will have to review it. And the third thing I'll say to you is keep in mind, this creates 2 classes of employees. It creates a class that has a pension and a class that does not have a pension. So be mindful of the employment base and make sure that they're motivated and the retention continues to be where you want it to be. So, sort of in summary, I think this plan it does something very important for our community, something that we've needed to do for a long time, and that is to, in many ways, put pension behind us. And I talked to somebody who's a former sheriff, and I said, "What do you think about it?" And he said, "Greg, it sucked all the oxygen out of the room." And you know, he was right. He was right. We've not been able to move forward. We've not been able to dream big dreams because this has been holding us back. And so I think it was an important part of our history to put this vote past us. So thank you.
Yeah, 2 last observations. I can tell you the morale now, especially in public safety, is much better. They've been pretty well beaten down by this thing, and it was just an adversarial he hasn't, he's going to introduce legislation that would take a certain percentage of revenue gain and mandate that it be contributed as an additional bump to the pension fund. I don't know whether it will pass or not, but I just want you to be aware of that it's still very important in council members' minds about the significance and the importance of financial or fiscal prudence, which we all are concerned about that still, even after the passage of it. We're focused, we'll remain focused on it. I'm going to take Mayport Boat Ramp, Jacks Beach Boat Ramp, Community Center in Mayport, and Jacksport Land in Mayport, and roll them all into one big package, and then we'll talk about it. Jacks Beach Boat Ramp. George, what do you want to talk about on that? Parking? The fact that we might have an opportunity to buy some land, is that?
Well, I was going to sort of work into that.
Yeah, I figured you would. I think that the word is certainly on the street that the Taylors are interested in selling property on the other side of the basin, and it's a substantial. What is total acreage, George? I can't
It's over 100 acres.
Yeah,
Not all that is usable.
Yeah, exactly, and it would butt up to existing land that the city of Jacksonville, marshland that the city of Jacksonville Beach owns. So you would have a conservation area all up and down that part of the intercoastal waterway, which would be a positive. The other positive would be that the usable land would allow us to expand the parking area around the Jacks Beach Boat Ramp. Will we get it done? Well, it only involves one thing. George says yes, and it's that. But the administration is working with Jacksonville Beach and have been receptive to seeing if we can come up. There may be some outside funding sources, state monies, exactly, maybe even some federal money. So we're working on that. The Mayport Boat Ramp, on the other hand, there's nothing pending currently on it. I know it's really, really tough, especially on weekends. I will say this, I got $800 and some thousand put in the CIP budget last year, this past year, for the purpose of building a new community center in Mayport. I think it's on 3 years, on a 3-year cycle. And my thought was that by doing that, we might even consider moving the community center over across Ocean, put it in that area, because it wasn't just for building a community center, it was also for paving that overflow parking area on the other side of Ocean. Might be more prudent to put the community center on the other side of Ocean, which would increase the amount of parking, and it probably we could lay it out a lot better too. So that's in the works. There's a possibility that we'll find funding and get that done in the next 3 years. Whomever takes my place, you may have to prod them a little bit to get it finalized, but I will continue to push that. Jacksport Land. Oh, the great saga of Jacksport Land. I think Mickey Baldwin, how many people know Mickey Baldwin? Big, strong advocate for Mayport, wonderful human being, love Mickey Baldwin to death. Has lived there, she's lived there for a long time. She led the fight against Jacksport on the cruise terminal debacle. And Mickey has a great slide that shows the waterfront in Mayport in 2007, with all the shrimp boats lined up, and the waterfront down, with not nary a shrimp boat in sight, although there are a few of them up there, but you know what I'm saying. Single-handedly, Jacksport has done a pretty good job of ruining Mayport. And it continues, because it just sits there, it languishes. Then to add a little bit of insult that got me really angry, and maybe you saw some comments in the Beaches Leader, which they didn't appreciate, but I frankly didn't give a damn. They go out there, Brian Taylor, I met with him a number of times, and this limited use or restrictive use easement that the Navy and the state wanted for that property simply was to enhance the naval operation, the flight operations, etc. And I can understand that. So Taylor told me, I said, what is the restriction? He told me the restriction is 52 feet. Nothing can be built higher than that. I said, is there anything else? No. That's good. I can live with that. Beach people don't want anything over 52 feet. Frankly, they don't want anything over 40 feet. So then I find out, after the fact, no, there's another restriction. restriction in there, and that was 5 residential units per acre. My concern with that was when we looked at the CRA study, one of the suggested developments was a possible boutique hotel up there. And this impacts, because they call it transient residential, this impacts the building of a hotel up there, because who wants a hotel with, 5 or 10 rooms in it? That's not going to be successful, probably. So I really got a little bit miffed about that. And plus the fact, the other thing that's happened is that the valuation, because of that, has dropped substantially. I saw 2 appraisals. One of them shows that the value of that property that they paid $12 million for has dropped under $3 million with this restricted use easement. So here's the reality. I want the property. I want the city of Jacksonville to have the property. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I want that damn property. Because they have gone overboard on keeping people out. It's this whole liability issue. Oh, we've got liability. Well, we got parks all over this town. Some of them are on water, and we let people go out there and do things like fish and recreate. So that's my stance on that property, because we took bids, Office of Economic Development. We struck a deal with Jacksonville Board where they would go out and see if we could find people to develop all or part of the parcels. And they took bids or went out and solicited and got no response. And that's how I found out about this restricted use, which I was told the developers didn't like that very much, and I can understand that. And I think there were some other things, in all fairness, I think there were some other things that they did or didn't do with respect to their solicitation or RFP that they're going to change and try again. But Mayport can be a destination, folks. It is a wonderful place. I might also add, for those of you that haven't lived here that long, Mayport, for the first time, is now part of my district, or this district. It's always been outside the beach district, which was stupid. But it is, thanks to these gentlemen, it is now part of that district, and it should be in the future, because we have so much commonality with the 3 beach communities and Mayport. So that's, hopefully you'll start seeing some progress up at Mayport. It's just a fantastic place. It could enhance the use of the ferry if we can make it a destination. The first step, I think, the very first step needs to be a working waterfront. Get the working waterfront back and you'll attract interest, you'll attract development, and that's where we'll go. Okay, now let them talk about it if they want to do those topics. Is that your phone? All right, well, you got anything on? Huh? All right, well, we get to the... Yes,
I want to
ma'am.
ask one question. They said it's transient residents. Who's the they?
It's in the contract. It's defined as that, Jackie. And I've asked Harrison Conyers to go back to the Navy and get a definition. It's contradictory. If you read the thing, it
Right.
seems like it would allow it, but
Right.
then there's another section that says that makes it sound like it won't allow it. I want clarification. We need to be sure exactly what it says. I asked him about it this week, and then he said, well, the Navy's talking about maybe 10 units an acre, or the state. He said the state, it wasn't the Navy. State's maybe talking about 10. Well, what is it? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it just transient? I don't know. But before you get anybody in there with any interest in development, we've got to have that question.
Because I don't think the Navy tells it.
Well, I don't know, but it's in that agreement, and it's described as transient residential, like hotels. Okay, let's get to the fun part, questions and answers. Forbes, I'm coming in June, nothing will keep me out of here.
Very seriously, first off, I don't know how many people really understand our, the beach renourishment shore protection program. I really appreciate the city of Jacksonville. The last 20 years, we've had an awesome shore protection program, and it wouldn't have happened without the support of the Jacksonville City Council. Especially appreciate the extra $7 million that they gave us after all the dunes were restored to get that done. That would not be done without the city of Jacksonville. So I want to really thank you all for that.
Yes, it does.
Second off, when the pension sales tax law was going through the legislature, initially it was part of a separate law, the same law that the Better Jacksonville plan was part of. And initially that law, they were going to put that provision in, included a provision that gave a share to all the other cities in the county based on their percentage of population and the counties. But at the last part of the session, that bill was changed out to a separate bill, not part of this, what used to be the Better Jacksonville bill. And that bill gave all the money to the county and none of the money to the cities. So all the cities here have a pension of some sort, and I would hope that over the next year or two that we could work out a provision where the beach cities, we have our own pensions, and like Jack's Beach, we have our own police and fire department where we can get a fair share of that. And, based on population, it'd be a very small amount that we can go to pay down our pensions and use for a similar purpose. I would hope that we could get that worked out.
I don't think you can find a city manager in the country who's more loyal to his citizens and his elected officials and to the city that he serves. He has done an incredible job. George comes to sees me every quarter with his long sheet of issues, questions, and the like, and I always look forward to it. He is the consummate city manager. He has done a great job, and I would expect a question like that from George, not once, but over and over. So you'll hear him. What else? Mitch?
Can you answer the question?
Well, I can answer the question. It's called 1 to 18. From my perspective, I understand where George was coming from. And trying to be objective about it, it was, as it has been advanced, in county only. It was such a significant problem, that was not something to fall on the sword over, because we're all impacted negatively if we don't solve the problem, whether we're at the beach or whether we're in town. I hope that it will be a matter of consideration in the future, just out of fairness. I mean, there are a number of issues I can share with you that I think have carried over for some time that are basically unfair in our relationship. So I will push for that in the future and see if we can get it. And let me make this statement. We did get at least a verbal concession out of the administration for some future consideration on that point, on that basis.
So you're willing to push that in the next legislative section with the budget?
You're not going to get in the legislature. They're done. This is strict.
When you are developing that next budget, when this is all coming in, you're willing to try and push that in Jacksonville City Council?
Sure.
So that speeches
1 day.
every year.
Yeah, I will. Maybe 2 days. So, but yes, we'll see what we can do about some additional consideration. What else?
Bill, since they're on the nourishment, thanks for the 7.5 million. That was a great faith of our beaches for doing that. But from 18th Street in Atlantic Beach, my concern is from 18th north and through Hannah Park, where you have some dune problems. We are fortunate in Atlantic Beach from 18th north that we have dune problems, but they're not sufficient like some other areas that we did have. I know in the scope of the project, it'd go by 18. But we're going to need some help somewhere to go in there and do some restructure a little bit. Maybe not like they were before, what we're doing before. So we want to ask you if there's some money left out of the 7.1. George said we already got it, because I think he's already jumped the gun there a little bit. But if you look at Hannah Park, we need some help from you to help us. Even if we do it infrastructure with your bulldozers, our bulldozers, or something to try to get. We're fortunate. We're not panicking those dunes, but we need to tighten them back up a little bit. So,
Let me tell you what Mitch is talking about. From 17th North, that was not in the scope of the original project. It was assessed by the Corps of Engineers, but not included. We had a similar situation with some dune construction in the south end of the beach that George is familiar with, and we've had some issues with going back and redoing that. However, it was in the scope of work, so we have a little bit of an advantage there. The fact that it was out and talking to Kevin Bodge, the coastal engineer, and others, which I tried to push that, they said, sorry, it wasn't in the original scope, and it's going to be hard to get the Corps of Engineers, not hard, impossible to get the Corps of Engineers to add that to that project. And I talked to some of the homeowners up there, and they were certainly understanding but disappointed. I don't know if there's something we can do, and certainly certainly we can address it with Public Works and see. John Pappas is very receptive, and I think maybe Kevin Bodge would be good to include in that. And once the smoke's cleared and we've got all the other work done and the renourishment done. Nobody asked me about the planning either. CO planning.
Well, you should
I wouldn't
congratulate.
be able to, huh?
You should thank Kevin.
I was going to do that. Is Kevin here? Where is Kevin? Hey, Kevin, introduce yourself to everybody.
Kevin Brown.
Let's do a little better job than that. Go a little farther.
I'm an environmental marine science teacher at Fletcher High School, very involved in CO planning
And how many COs have your kids and you planted thus far?
over a 5-year period, about 3,500.
Okay, and just recently?
Just recently, we put 500 in at Atlantic Beach from Ahern. There was a land trust that had 500 left over from Earth Day. So they got in touch with us. They delivered them, and I got about 50 kids, and we did a block in about an hour. If y'all give us more, we'll plant more.
Round of applause, folks. They've done a great job. By the way, Kevin, talk to Carol after the meeting. She's got something for you.
Some more?
So she needs, yeah.
I will.
That, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a wonderful thing. CO planning, I don't know exactly when it's going to start. There is a contractor that was the low bid. That I think they've awarded it to him, and the good thing was it came in under, fairly substantially under what the estimate was. So I think it's got something to do with the timing too, doesn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, one Mr. Forbes can help me on this. 600,000.
Yes.
Yeah, and they'll use the big problem, y'all, is water. And we're in a drought, and they're going to use a slow nitrogen. To keep it real simple, it looks like a little packet that you put in your dishwasher. And it's a slow release nitrogen. And that should help the roots. They're going to guarantee them for 100 days, which is a really good thing because if one of them turns brown, they got to replace it. Once again, once we get them in, the science starts. That's when we start building sand in the dunes. We need vegetation. And that, from what I understand, is June. June? Yeah, so once that starts, we'll give them their 100 days. There's nothing we can do other than hope for some rain in June. They need to be watered about every 3 to 5 days to make growth. And we just monitor the weather and try to get some water on them.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I ignored the last line on the list of topics. This lady right here is V.J. Lester. She was the animal control officer in Atlantic Beach when I was the mayor. Boy, did she ever bend my ear many times. So what's your question? Huh?
Okay, when we, the consolidation, we voted to keep the beaches separate, and there was an agreement that Jacksonville Animal Control would help the beaches, right? They used to, the trucks used to come out. Well, you've had 3 different animal control facilities in Jacksonville since I've been an adult. So I guess y'all got money in your budget for your animal control. Well, I understand Neptune Beach has hired somebody extra to fill in because the Jacksonville truck are not coming down to pick up the confiscated animal. I want to know what happened to Jacksonville Animal Control helping the beaches.
Take it, Grant.
Why is the Neptune Beach?
I don't know, but why don't you, Carol's making a note of that. We'll look into that because we have a new head for that department.
Yeah, maybe there's a problem.
Well, we've had other problems in that arena. So yeah, and that's a good point that you've made, and we'll look into that. Okay, come on, ask one of them.
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
But since we're pontificating.
Right.
Maybe I'm not with the budget and with the pension, some people got to keep it. In some sections, I think council people got to keep the pension. How did you decide who got to keep the pension? And what percentage of our employees don't have a pension and what percentage got to keep it?
Anybody that's participating in any of the city's 3 pension plans that's working today will continue to participate in those plans until they retire. So if they got hired yesterday and they work for 20 years and they retire and they live for 30 more years after that, that pension plan will service that individual. Anybody hired after October 1st goes into the newly created pension plan. It's still a pension plan, it's just a 401k, it's a defined contribution. We focus on what goes in, not what comes out at the end when you retire. Elected officials that are described in the Constitution in the state of Florida, school board members, county commissioners, we sit as the county commission, supervisor of elections, clerk of court, tax collector, public defender, state attorney, property appraiser, anybody that's defined in the Florida Constitution, we're an FRS because we're a state, we're recognized as a state person, not necessarily as a city person. So, but
So
to
that's how
answer
the
the question,
decision was made, you're recognized as a state.
elected officials are,
Elected officials.
with the exception of the mayor, because
And
he's not in the Constitution.
What percentage, do you know, is it 10%, is it 5%, is it 3%?
Percentage of what?
Of our budget, of the Jacksonville budget?
What percentage of the budget
I
does?
mean, pension contributions, is that what you're saying?
Of the employees, or?
We have about 8,000 municipal employees. When we look at city employees and independent authorities, I would say probably 90% of those are currently in a pension plan. Maybe a little more.
No, I meant the elected officials, how much of that percentage do they?
Oh, it's infinitesimal.
Very small.
How many elected officials are there?
No, how many are in the plans, elected officials, and what percentage of our budget represents contributions?
Well, we've got 8,000 employees, we've got 19 council members, 7 or 8 constitutional officers. So,
And some of us do not, elected not to participate in the pension. I'm not in the pension.
Okay.
John, I think something's interesting that even tonight you talk about fire and police pensions, but people don't realize like JEA had 4 different pensions going, all the other.
JEA, all the JEA employees participated in the city's general employees pension plan. They have a lot of unions that have separately negotiated collective bargaining agreements or CBAs, but they're all participating in the general employees pension plan. We have 3 pension plans.
But they agreed to go to the 401.
They did. New hires.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, oh, I'll just stay in, but anybody after me has to go in a new one. That's what they agreed to. So we have 3 pension plans, and the biggest one is the general employees, and it's reasonably healthy when you compare it to police and fire.
Anyone else, question? John?
Okay, one thing that we brought up before was about pier, and we talked the last pier meeting about the entrance looking like the entrance to Rayford. And I saw the beaches leader that there was a really nice a picture of what the entrance could look like. And that's up to you guys, or is that Jacksonville Beach?
That's Jacksonville Beach.
Yeah, Jacksonville Beach.
Entrance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the other question I have, you suggested that there may be like 3 or 4 other topics that you had on your mind of
No, y'all got most of them.
relationship with.
You got most of them, and I'm not going to share with you what they were. So, let's stir it up.
Because I think we should know before you leave.
Now, well, you're just going to have to speculate. Something for you to dream on tonight.
I've got 3 topics.
Okay, oh, well, let me sit down, this will take a
The
while.
email I got said, bring a list of things that I want to talk about.
Okay, well, you got the floor.
You hijacked the whole program.
What else is there?
I'm working on 3 things, and of course, when I take on ideas, I always have to be sensitive to how many beaches would be interested in this, because sometimes good ideas don't play out well at the beaches. So tell me if you're interested in any of these 3 things. And we've had some conversations with a couple of folks at the beach about this one. Jacksonville's really struggling with blight. Mr. Gulliford, Mr. Anderson and I served on a blight committee for 20 years. Forever. And we addressed some issues, but we still have a lot more that that have gone unaddressed, and we don't currently have a specific committee that's designated solely to blight. But one of the issues we're wrestling with is a degradation of commercial corridors. Corridors that used to be generally retail, office, restaurant, have kind of changed over the years into automobile service locations, tire places. I mean, they just look junky, etc. And one of the big offenders on Beach Boulevard, Atlantic Boulevard, more towards the city, University Boulevard, are tire dealers that sell used tires and they stack them all outside. And listen, I think that is just blight capital letters, blinking capital letters, and we're trying to figure out a way to deal with that issue. And I've been meeting with Councilman Wilson, who represents a good portion of Beach Boulevard, and we're talking about trying to prohibit the outside storage of tires. They have to be inside the building. And most of your reputable tire dealers, your Tire Kingdoms, your Discount Tire, Goodyear, Firestone, they do keep all their stuff inside. But if you get to some places, and I tell you it's really bad in the urban core, you can drive by places that just have stacks and stacks of tires, racks and rolling racks of tires. So we're thinking about trying to figure out a way to prohibit that from happening. There's a thing in Florida called the Burt-Harris Act that requires governments to compensate people when you take something of value away from them. So we just can't go in and change the zoning code without facing a Burt-Harris claim for them losing some value of their property. So what we're thinking about doing is maybe prohibiting them in some period in the future where they have a grandfather period to kind of prepare themselves for that. The magic number that we seem to think is working in case law is about 5 years. So it's not something we can fix instantly. I don't know if you have that problem at the beach. I haven't really seen that problem at the beach, but it could be coming. So anybody that's interested in that, reach out to my office and let me know. Good idea for the beach, bad idea for the beach. The second thing I'm working on, and I've been working on this for a long time, are these things, which also, in my opinion, contribute to blight. Textile recycling bins. They often collect things that don't look anything like textile. They have, here's one that has got tires by it, they collect carpeting, furniture, what have you. In 2015, the blight committee that we served on decided we're just going to prohibit those things altogether in Jacksonville. So we approved that legislation. About 30 days later, we got sued by a company called Go Green Charities, and they found this weird case out of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, federal court in Michigan, that said textile recycling bins. I don't use that word donation bin because the court case out of Michigan said that these things are no different than a person standing out there soliciting a charitable contribution. I have a hard time following that judge's panel of logic, but it was right on point. We ended up rescinding our ordinance, repealing it, went back to the drawing boards, and we're trying to figure out a way to deal with this. Don't know if it's a problem that you've seen, but I can tell you, if you don't have it down, you may eventually have it. If you want to talk to us about how we may fix it, and we can apply a countywide fix, let me know, because that's something else that I'm very interested in moving forward on. And finally, the other project I'm working on, which could be a countywide thing, or we could just make it a city of Jacksonville thing, is changing the age for people to buy tobacco products. There's a national movement that's underway, and the theory is that young people get hooked on smoking because they're hanging around in school kids that are legally old enough to buy cigarettes. 18 is the present age in the state of Florida. So 18-year-olds are still in high school, and they're buying cigarettes and distributing to younger kids, and therein lies the problem. Some states, some municipalities have moved that age to 21. A lot of states preempt local government from doing anything that relates to tobacco. And in the statutes, there are what we call specific exemptions and implied exemptions. I've scoured the Florida statutes. We have no specific exemption, nothing prohibiting us specifically that we can't venture into this territory, but there is a quirky little thing in the statute that talks about how retailers have to post a sign that says, you have to be 18 years. We don't think that constitutes an implied exemption, so I'm going to be moving forward soon on offering legislation to change that age in Jacksonville. If the beach wants to be included in that, I need to hear from you, because we're not going to put it in there unless that's something you all are interested in as well. Those are the three things I'm looking at.
I am so glad you're ready to do that. All right, that's how about animal control? Would you like that?
My son is probably at all. And actually, I heard that. I heard that there was some concern about the original contract supposed to provide animal care, and we had not been providing that care. So I think Bill's going to look at it not all of it as well. But I just think, I guess we're closing out. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Bill, thank you for including John and me. It means a lot.
Thanks, Andy.
When we're at large folks, and so normally the district council members, they just don't want you to come to the district at all. So Bill has really included us, and so I want to thank you for that. I thought I'd just sort of close out and tell you a little bit about what I think the next big initiative will be, and that's probably going to be a re-look at the port, and particularly the dredging. You're going to hear more about that coming up. Why would the beach be concerned about that? Well, what we found out with the beach renourishment project was that if you dredge the river, it impacts the beaches. And I think we found that out, that the beach naturally replenishes itself, except where it is interrupted, and it's interrupted right now, big channel. So I think what you'll hear is a conversation about cost. We don't really know what that is right now. Who's going to pay for what and how much? That's a big question for us to answer. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the economics. It doesn't really make sense, and it may not. It may, but it may not. You see Savannah has completed their part. They're trying to complete their dredging project, and it is enormously expensive. And frankly, the cost overruns have been much more than they anticipated. So we need to really understand, the economics around it. Does it make sense? But from my standpoint, the environmental concern is we just cannot mess up our river. Just can't do it. We've got future generations that we owe the health of our river. Gulliford County is hard to believe 6 years working together, and
It's been glorious.
it's been
Before you say anything else, I'm going to leave with one thought. I want you all, this is very serious, something that's come to my attention that I've gotten involved in the last month or so, and we had the state come in and put on a workshop today, is the opioid epidemic that's going on. I don't know whether you're aware, the governor declared a medical emergency. My colleagues were kind enough to pass a resolution asking the governor to do just that, and we did it as an emergency. Every 2 hours, on average, one of our fire and rescue units goes out and responds to an overdose. 464 people, at least 464 people, last year died in Jacksonville, Florida, as a result of an overdose, and I said at least because we don't know how many have died. The hospitals don't do toxicology or blood tests on folks that are deceased in their hospitals, and so the suspicion is that number is higher, maybe substantially higher. This is very scary because it is community-wide. If you look at the location of the calls on a map, which we have of the county, you will see very quickly that it is not localized, it is not stereotypical, it is not people under bridges and down alleyways. As one first responder said to me, this is from oceanfront houses to shacks and everything in between. We have people that are recycled over and over again to our emergency rooms. One in Memorial Hospital's emergency room. She showed up 4 times in one day, overdosed. And then ultimately, they died. Because what's happening too is it's no longer just heroin, it's heroin with fentanyl. And fentanyl is so quick acting that we have a graphic 911 call that this guy's girlfriend just shot up. She has gone comatose and stopped breathing, and she still has a needle stuck in her arm. And your kids are at risk. One thing we heard in that workshop today that is really scary is the age of overdose children is going down. They're seeing things that they can't believe now with kids being overdosed at young ages. And of course, we're seeing unborn children are being born with addictions, and one just recently died as a result of the fentanyl that the mother was taking. I just want to make you aware of it. It's a crisis for our city. It's something we've got to address. We've got to stop the cycle. It is so addictive that it's just hard to describe when you hear these people what they will do in order to continue that. But they want to get out, but the difficulty is there's no provision. We're not helping them right now. Like I said, we transport them to the emergency room, we stabilize them in the emergency room, we put them back on the street. They're hurting when they're back on the street because they're having withdrawal, and guess what their recourse is? Go find some more. And when you're talking about a day's worth of heroin and maybe it's just straight fentanyl at $17 a pop, it's gotten very, very inexpensive, which has added to the problem. And of course, some of it was precipitated by prescription drug practices and tasks that doctors have been irresponsible about their prescriptions. So I just wanted you all to be aware of it. It's something we have to have a community conversation on continually, and it's got to get better exposure in the city. We're all going to have to get involved, and it's going to be an expensive proposition, and it's really, really scary. So, with that good news, we're going to end now, unless Andy wants to go another hour. You want to go another hour, Andy? Okay. So, before we go, I want to thank these gentlemen right here. Do it. Haley, you got anything you want to ask? Tommy wishes he could be here. I know, because Tommy and I sit next to each other, and it's a bad situation. Last thought for you two, though, is, and I look at the two of them and think, I understand the will of the citizens about term limits, but I'm going to very much be sorry to see the two of them leave office because of what they've contributed to the community. And sometimes the best of intentions don't necessarily bring the best of results. And I just think that one of our problems is the loss of institutional knowledge in government gives rise to the strength of lobbyists and bureaucrats. And there's something to be said about that in future deliberations. Sandy, thank you very much for putting this on. You're fantastic.
And thank you, John and Greg. And just a quick reminder, everyone, the next Speeches Watch meeting will be Wednesday, June 7th, and George Forbes will be talking about the legislative session. And again, thank you guys. We really appreciate you taking your time.
Can I come back and ask you questions?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.